Hey, I'm Dr. Greg with Align Wellness Center. Today I want to answer the question on why is my neck bothering me now? So you've had neck pain. It's gone on for a while, on and off, and all of a sudden it showed up. Why did it show up today? So there's some really interesting principles about this to understand why it's showing up today and what you can do about it to wind up getting rid of it. You see, our bodies have been developed to wind up having what's called a total stress threshold. That means that we can handle a total amount of stress in our life that equals to this much. Now, stress comes in three different varieties. It comes in physical stresses, chemical stresses, and emotional stresses. Now, our body can handle all three of them in a certain amount that does not exceed the threshold forever. However, once we have a total amount or an individual amount of one of those stresses that overwhelms and exceeds the stress threshold, our health starts to deteriorate and it starts to break down. So when we think of physical stresses, I want you to think of the activities that you do in the life that you lead. So whether it's things that happen regularly over a long period of time, like the way you carry a purse, sit at a desk, carry a child, a bag, or lift things, or heavy impacts you've had in the past, whether it was from a car crash, jumping out of a tree when you were a kid, playing sports, or any of the likes. Those physical stresses, whether they're right now or in the past, build up to determine how much of the physical threshold you're going to be able to handle and how much you need to wind up balancing the other two. Chemical stresses are something that we can wind up modifying real easy and all throughout our lives, although some we can't. So chemical stresses have to do with what we put in our body, as well as what we allow to come out of our body. So it has to do with the food that we drink, the air that we breathe, the water that we intake, any medications or vitamins that we take, any chemical exposures we may have had in the past, the air that we breathe. We can be exposed to better things or we can be exposed to worse things. Either way, they're going to help in determining how much of this threshold that we wind up sustaining. The last one that people typically don't connect with how they feel or their neck pain winds up being emotional stresses. These are the stresses that have to do with the relationships in our lives, whether it's a family member or a friend or a coworker or an employer. Emotional stresses are typically hidden and they don't express themselves the way that the others two do. Having appropriate ways to balance, manage, keep those emotional stresses in check allows for you to stay healthy and sound. Now, in a normal situation, you have a buffer between the total of your three thresholds and your total threshold. However, when your body winds up having too much of any of the three and it eats up the buffer, you wind up going in excess of your total threshold and your body starts to deteriorate. It typically starts to deteriorate internally and with your organs. And you may notice that your blood sugar gets off, you get cranky, you may get headaches, your stomach will get upset, you have difficulty with breathing like asthma or allergies. And then it winds up progressing to breaking us down musculoskeletal. We get aches and pains. We typically get them across our shoulders or in our lower back because that's where most of the feedback happens from these organs. When we wind up leaving it alone, it continues to progress and the threshold gets further and further out of balance, causing our body to be unable to manage or correct it. And it may result in us requiring to have chemicals foreign to our body or pharmaceuticals to get us back into balance. In many cases, though, with the right guidance, we can wind up helping to bring you back into balance so that you don't wind up having those stress thresholds overcome. The key to this, though, is listening to your body and listening when it gives you just stressed shoulders and tight shoulders. That's a warning sign that things are out of balance. When we just mask it with Aleve and Tylenol or a massage here or there, we don't find the cause of the imbalance, it progresses and it gets worse. If you think you may be suffering from this, let's look to talk. I look to help people all over the world understand why they're having this problem now, find the safest natural way to wind up turning the tide so that we don't need more drugs and surgery. Once again, I'm Dr. Greg Gersten with Align Wellness Center, and thank you for letting me be a part of your health.